Is it important for white kids to learn about black culture? Of course it is. In this culture, all we learn about is European American history. Black history is taken out of education.
What would you say about celebrating February's Black History Month? Is that an example of white culture?
An example of white culture celebrating Black History Month? Who celebrates it is my question.
Doesn't the TV promote Black History Month? Doesn't the Idiot Box promote Black History Month?
You know what that is, if you don't mind me saying? That's a jerk-off.
It's a jerk-off.
Black people, Hispanic people, they're forced to learn about our culture, and we're not forced to learn about their culture. And it's sad. I don't think so.
If 66% of the population or the audience, TV audience, is Caucasian, and they don't have a channel that specifically emphasizes their culture, but yet Hispanic and African Americans do. That's a really hard question.
We don't study it. We don't study the history of slavery in Africa.
We do study the history of slavery in Africa, but we don't. It's more, we study facts and what happened. We don't learn stories.
And with all this racism that permeates our country today, I thought it would be easy for people to come up with the name of a public figure who was racist. It wasn't. Of the 50 or so people I interviewed on camera that see racism daily, none could come up with the name of a public figure that was racist. I had to offer a suggestion myself, admittedly to stimulate conversation.
I would say Jesse Jackson is not a racist at all. He fights against racism, he fights for peace, he wants justice, and he tries to do what he can to bring together that justice and peace. And he wants people to be united as well. As far as Reverend Jesse Jackson using racism as profit, like I say, he's a man, a good man, and he has done some things that, we probably aren't proud of, but he sticks by what he does.
Do I think Jesse Jackson is a racist? I guess I don't. I guess I don't. I think he's an advocate for black people, and I was going to say his people, and that's an important role, but I've never thought of him as a racist.
So you said that being an advocate for his people, for black people, is a good thing.
I do think that.
Can you name an advocate for white people?
Can I name an advocate for white people? Wow. Specifically for white people.
Catch that? Being an advocate for one's racial group is an important role, as long as one's racial group is not white people. The very idea of being an advocate for white people is offensive, mostly to those calling others racists.
I got the impression on the mall, they have Nicollet Mall in Minneapolis, that it's like this mall here. They want to keep black people off of the mall. There's a lot of white guys up and down the 16th Street Mall that are soliciting, and that pisses me off, because I've been at one point in my life where I was penniless and didn't have anything. I never panhandled. I never begged for money. And that pisses me off. So I told the guy who solicited me yesterday, happened to be a white guy. If he was a black guy, I'd be pissed off too. I told him, I said, I think the welfare department is right down there. And that's another thing that pisses me off. I did everything I was supposed to do, never broke the law, always tried to work for a living, and I still get treated like a second-class citizen. I risk my life for my country.
Who's treating you like a second-class citizen?
Mostly white males.
I do believe that our culture is racist.
Who's it in benefit of?
White males.
White males?
Yeah.
You mentioned the racism. Where's the racism in this?
The racism is he's paying particular close attention to me because I'm in the company, my girlfriend's white, and I'm in the company of a white woman.
This isn't a dance club?
Yeah.
A disco? Yeah. But can you ever see a situation where African-American men might try to intimidate white men in that same situation?
Yeah, but not as much.
Not as much?
It doesn't happen as much.
I've seen a lot of black people make white people uncomfortable. And sometimes, I don't know if it's so much racism, or sometimes it's just that they want to get back at what they consider to be the man.
One of the things that happens in America is that anything that happens to white people from another race is generally not looked upon as a hate crime. In a lot of ways, it looks as retaliation.
You made me uncomfortable, you pissed my parents off, and you know, I grew up in this country, now it's my chance to get you back.
This is more of today's conventional wisdom in our conversation. When whites mistreat people of color, it's always racism. But when whites are victims, we must step back. We have to look deeper for the root causes of said mistreatment. A glaring double standard. Are white people right to be a little afraid of blacks?
I'd say yeah.
Yeah?
They intimidate them because now it's more interracial.
You know, it's kind of, I don't know.
No, wait a second. The Filipinos are all looking for money. And what did you say, the other one?
Like Jewish people, they're cheap. Or, I mean, everybody has like their own stereotypes.
Give me some more of those. Those are racist.
I don't know. I can't.
Black people.
Black people were criminals.
That's a hard question. I don't know. I don't have an answer for that one, actually.
If I were to hear someone say African Americans are committing more crimes than whites, I would not be offended because it's true. I see it on the news. When you turn on the news, it's mainly an African American who intruded a home, did a drive-by shooting, gang-related drug bust. So that's all you see pretty much is African American crime. So no, I would not be offended, but I would agree.
If you're thinking of a black person and the stereotype you've ingrained in your head is this, this person is maybe a criminal.
Why do African Americans get the bad rep?
Because we do the most crucial stuff around here. We're just like on that point where like, if we want to do something, we'll do it and not think twice about it and just go out there and do it again and again, or do it even more worse than we did before.
African Americans are involved in gangs, they're involved in drugs, they're involved with just the street life.
If someone were to feel that blacks are more criminally inclined than whites, would they have any justification for that?
Unfortunately, I think yes.
I don't feel like I had to go through all this racism stuff because I'm African American.
Now, what would you say to the guy that says, hey, you know what, African Americans commit half the crimes in this country. Of course we should look at them more carefully.
Damn. I mean, we do some crime around here, but I'm not going to say we do half of the crime. Yeah, African Americans are like that, but it's not all African Americans around here doing all the crime like that. There's all sorts of other ethnicities that do all that.
If you were a taxpayer,
I was a taxpayer,
and you heard about somebody breaking into a house, how would you feel if you saw the cops beating them down?
On some real shit, I don't know. I'll probably try to tell them take that to the courts, because I don't see how they gonna beat somebody up. Yeah, they broke into a house, they was in the wrongdoing, but at that same point, you can't just beat somebody up because they broke into a house.
How about if they broke into your house?
If they broke into my house, I promise I'll kill them motherfuckers.
Now, what would you say to the guy that says you're making the definition of a criminal?
Well, I already know I'm a criminal. I've been locked up since I was 11.
But you say the cops are racist, but yet you're saying you're a criminal.
I'm a criminal, but yeah, on that same note, when we're not doing nothing, that's when they want to come up here and fuck with us.
Most of the violent crimes are committed by white males. I mean, who are all the mass murderers out here? They're not black people.
All of the mass murderers you're saying are white?
Majority of them are white, or Hispanic.
How about the majority of the armed robbers and the rapists? Aren't they black?
No.
No?
I don't think so.
A common debating tactic of the believers is to flat out deny facts that we all know to be true. When Martin employs this tactic, he places the burden of proof upon me, knowing full well what a distasteful job it would be researching rape statistics. This shocking fact is one of many not reported to the American public. We're bombarded with messages telling us that racism is evil. But if selecting people for discrimination based on their skin color is racism, and it's a bad thing, well, isn't selecting people for rape because of their skin color also a bad thing? In fact, isn't it a much worse thing? And that's quite another disconnect. In other words, the conventional wisdom on racism says that I should be concerned when I hear that somewhere a white person might be persecuting someone because of their skin color. I should make it my business. Yet, God forbid that I become concerned when I hear that white women are being raped because of their skin color 100 times a day, right now in America. Well, we know what happens to people concerned about those facts. They get stereotyped as haters, and their opinions have no place in the public forum. Are the contradictions starting to become visible?